Warning. This show features dark subjects which may be triggering to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Chaos Jar. I'm your announcer and the loud and obnoxious one, J Wes Secord. Hey. Over here is our host and our big bag of facts, Bad Ben.
Hey.
And, as usual, we are joined by our good friend, A.T. Token.
Let me out.
He's heading the bars of our wooden cage.
It's poorly stocked. What can I say?
I love it's made out of wood. It just sounds so flimsy.
Well, when you don't feed somebody, it's enough.
You just chew at the bars. As usual, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at BAKS. Or wait, no, is it BAKS?
Yeah, at BAKS.
Yeah. Okay, I knew. Shut up. At BAKS Jar. And you can follow me on Twitter and ask me a whole bunch of random weird questions. Because I wanna answer your questions and whatnot. I'm gonna.
That's all.
That's all. For some reason, I blanked on that. But you can
One time.
Yeah. I said it was all your day. Anyway, you can ask me random questions and follow me on I'm Glad You Asked _ you can follow us on Facebook.
Now with added belches.
At Pandora's Jar Podcast, which we are very, very close to changing.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Just in time for Christmas.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we're not going to make it for Christmas, are we?
No.
And we are now on YouTube at Chaos Jar. Take a look at us on Chaos Jar at YouTube. Wait.
Chaos Jar Podcast. Because the other Chaos Jar is some random guy with his cat as a picture.
Sorry, don't go.
That's just cat attack.
Sorry, we're Chaos Jar Podcast. Don't give him views. He honestly might actually deserve it. He's doing that thing with you know what? Doesn't matter.
Give everyone views.
Support us both.
Chaos Jar Podcast. All right, and if you want to support us, or patronize us, or be patrons.
Or upgrade the cage.
Are we saints?
Yes. Relatively speaking.
Saints of belches.
And,
for everything.
Anyway, you can patron us on,
Patronize.
On
Patreon.com.
Patreon.com/Chaos. I knew what I was saying. I was just... It was what he was saying that was fucking me up there. So, yeah. And this is all going to be in the show notes. This is a little rough today, folks. It's
been a couple weeks.
It's been a couple weeks. I'm a little tired from weird things. Token's breathing alcohol in my face. I'm immediately getting drunk.
There's no alcohol present either. It's just that kind of day.
Yeah, I know, right? Like it's weird. It just smells like
no
alcohol.
alcohol in that bottle. It's all acid.
Yeah. My God, I just about made a racial joke.
Well,
but
I mean, we're here. Let's do it.
No, it doesn't work because he's the native and you're
that was good.
I do make a lot of bad racial jokes, but I do know the difference between my
jokes.
But I do know the difference between my Indians.
Have an award, white person.
Yeah.
Way to take down both.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, Jesus.
I'm just happy to be here.
You're like that one guy who loses at the video game and just goes, I'm just glad to participate.
I'm just happy to play.
Yeah. Like, no one likes that guy. There's
it's the cage.
Like, they'll just be like, oh man, da-da-da, he died, haha, you suck. I'm just glad to play. Fuck you! Why do you make me feel guilty?
I owned you! Yeah, you did. It's not fun if you're into this.
Yeah, you beat me real hard, just like my mom.
That's
just like my dad before he went for cigarettes.
And my mom who blamed me for my dad going for cigarettes.
We're just gonna all of our
dark part
listeners
hasn't
gone
started
away.
yet.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
the best part.
I don't know, you're here.
Yeah. I'm the only thing in this room that doesn't reflect.
If we turned out the lights, it would just be his smile.
just these big white teeth.
I mean, the amount of times I've heard smile so we can see it.
We still have...
The ghost picture.
We have this picture
I need to post that on social media.
in a play that we were doing, and he's in the background. He's wearing all black, and
I was a stagehand. I'm supposed to be.
yeah, in front of a black curtain on a stage, and he's just basically a floating head.
Yeah,
it's fucking hilarious.
I just love Colin in that. It's amazing.
You look. It's funny too because you actually look.
Like I'm haunting the place.
Like nobody even really sees you. You're just there like, hey, I wanted to be in the picture too.
A very quiet photobomb.
Oh, God. Anyway.
Better than
what's
the
going in
usual
the jar
bomb
today?
All right, so today we're going to do a very well-known story, the Russian sleep experiment.
Oh, I
no sleep.
I've actually watched a few things on that thing. Yeah.
Everybody kind of has. It's actually a pretty interesting topic. However, we'll talk about it. There's a lot of people out there that think it's real. So we'll even discuss that.
It's not real?
It's Russian.
I haven't said if it's real or not. They might have done this experiment. Come on now.
Have you actually met a Russian?
Yes.
Facetious.
Several.
He even has a character.
They're from New Mexico. It's a lie.
Have I done that character?
Yes, you
You
have.
have it, actually.
Was it Kabovrod?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if I didn't actually remember if I did that character on
At least it
show.
wasn't an Ivan.
No, Kabovrod. There's a long story about that, but we can get to that in the overflow.
We discussed it in the overflow once.
Did we? Oh, Jesus Christ. You know what?
It's been a bit. We'll get back to it.
Shut up. Just do your thing.
All right. So before we talk about the
dance.
actual Russian sleep experiment, let's talk about fatal insomnia, which is a really rare disorder
Because it's fatal.
and it actually exists where you have it starts off kind of like as you typically have that issue of sleeping and it gets worse over time.
Basically, you suck at sleeping, you can't sleep, and then you die.
I like his description just because there's this thing called sleeping.
Yeah, and you have an issue.
You might have heard of it.
And it eventually gets worse and you die.
Yep.
I mean, that could be
Good night, folks.
So basically, it's a prion disorder. So like the prions in your brain. There's been a
like that. This is taking too long for me to get to the joke, so just keep going.
It's the pre.
Yeah, so
I'm talking about pralines.
Yeah.
Pralines, yeah. It all comes back to dicks.
Those are dicks?
No, but nuts are attached to dicks.
Well done.
I honestly, I think you're the one who came back to dicks this time.
That was kind of...
You never know what the means.
Everyone's eating a little dick.
The raptor sleep experiment.
Anyway. And if you don't get that joke, give us money on Patreon and you'll get the overflow
Or be patient.
Pay us money for our inside jokes.
About dicks.
It's usually caused by some sort of mutation in your gene encoding for the protein PRPC.
Mm-hmm.
And
Presumptive.
so
Is there an age onset typical?
No, it actually can just kind of pop up at any point. The average survival time from the onset of the symptoms, so when the symptoms first show up, is roughly about 18 months. So once you are diagnosed with this disorder, you essentially
got a clock.
Have about a year
And a half.
Really? Eh?
And it's quite literally a waking nightmare, from what I understand. I think it's documented as the worst documented experience for a psychological occurrence.
Yeah, because it starts off with just having regular, really worsening insomnia. So, like, you start to have trouble sleeping, and then it gets a little worse, and then eventually you can't sleep.
People just unravel.
And that leads to hallucinations, delirium, confusion, dementia, and then eventually your organs start to shut down, and then you just die.
Yeah. It's like prolonged radiation poisoning. It's fucking...
He may have heard this before. I don't think I told you about this, but I was actually working on a book series that focused on a world in dreams and stuff. And this was a phenomena that I actually kind of
was that the villain
created in that. No. This was something I created in the thing, thinking it was the person was dying out of sleep deprivation.
Yeah,
but like I didn't know enough about sleep deprivation. And I'm glad there's actually a thing I can apply this. Yeah.
Yep.
You can always ask me.
The first recorded case of fatal insomnia actually comes from an Italian man who died in Venice in 1765. So this has been a recorded disease for a while.
And there's like not verified data going way further back as well. Like it's been a thing as long as we have for the most part.
Yeah. So the disease has 4 stages. The person has increasing insomnia, resulting in panic attacks, paranoia, phobias. This stage lasts roughly about 4 months.
All those things are the symptoms of having ADHD as well.
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it?
I know.
The second stage is hallucinations, and panic attacks become noticeable, and they continue on for about 5 months.
Side note, does ADHD often is comorbid with sleep issues? I don't actually know.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Your brain is...
It makes sense.
It's so active. Yeah. It's extremely hard to shut it off.
It just relax and fall asleep.
Yeah.
There's only so many rubber mallet hits you can take. Not cute.
And the funny thing is, all I heard was the kind of knock.
Honestly, the way you say it makes it sound like it's another cryptid we're doing. The knock.
I mean, we can manufacture one.
So the third stage is the complete inability to sleep, which is followed by rapid weight loss, and this lasts about 3 months. And then fourth is dementia, during which the person becomes unresponsive or mute over the course of 6 months. This is the final stage, and it always leads to death. There is no rate of survival. You do die the moment, like, as soon as you find out about this disease. It's just
no treatment,
amount of time till then.
So
given what
you're saying is, if I don't find out about it, I don't die.
Sure.
Whatever helps
That's
you sleep
how you worded it.
Whatever helps you sleep at night. So, other symptoms include profuse sweating, pinpoint pupils, the sudden entrance into menopause for women or impotence for men, neck stiffness. My neck is really stiff. Oh, God. And then that's all I can think is, could you imagine you're complaining about the fact that you cannot sleep and my neck is so stiff?
Oh, this is a minor inconvenience.
Yeah.
I must be dying.
Well, that would only be within the first 4 months, because that would be the only time they communicate as well.
Exactly.
So the complaints.
I must be slowly dying.
Well, they wouldn't know it by the time the doctors know it.
Because they can't die until they know it exists.
Yes, the universe does revolve around you.
There's also an elevation of blood pressure and heart rate. Constipation is normal. And as the disease progresses, they become stuck in kind of like a pre-sleep limbo. So,
just for fun, all of those symptoms sort of mirror rapid aging. As if your telomeres decay. I mean, there's no way of checking that, but...
Well, I'm growing old at an accelerated rate.
Well, the fun thing is you wouldn't know.
Until someone told you.
It's like the classic Alzheimer's joke.
The age of onset is really, really variable. It can go between 18 and 60. So, like I said, there's no real set date. But the average for people is roughly about 50. So around
typically later.
Yeah. So around the time that you hit 50 years old, this can start to kind of manifest. It can be detected prior with genetic testing. Death occurs between 7 and 36 months from onset, but 18 months is the average of how long you have. And it varies from person to person.
36 months.
Yeah, even among people in the same family, which this disease actually, the risk of catching it is very low because only roughly about 40 families actually have.
It's worth noting it's not transmissible. The language he's using is not that. It's limited to a few family lines.
I was just about to ask because you said disease. I was like, I thought you said it was a disorder type of thing.
It's kind of both. It's kind of stuck just in the genetic code itself.
It's a poor gene expression, so it's not transmissible in the traditional sense.
But yeah, they've basically narrowed it down to about 40 families that carry this gene.
It's kind of amazing they still exist.
Yeah. So the risk of getting it is really, really low. Like
some of them haven't heard of it.
Way to go. Yeah, there's
I miss you, man.
A few of the cases that kind of pop up that are notable are there's one in Silvano in 1983. Sorry. There's one for a guy named Silvano from Bologna, Italy in 1983. I saw the face as soon as I said it.
Yeah, that's my favorite place, Bologna, Italy.
Yeah.
It's funny because Dr. Ignazio Rotri received a patient at the University of Bologna Hospital. And it's a sleep institute.
Send your letters, too.
He decided, the man known as Silvano decided, in a rare moment of consciousness, to be recorded for future studies.
No, sorry, the man known as Silvano makes me think of the artist formerly known as Prince. That's
just it, though. Is his name, the only name they give for him is Silvano. They don't give any other name. It's not even sure that that's his real name.
It likely is the name
that they handed out.
It's an experiment given name.
He also donated his brain after he passed away.
Well, that's a kindness. So that's where we know where the dementia and stuff comes from.
Yeah. There are two unnamed patients from... there's an unnamed patient from Schenkine and Montagna in 2001.
Okay. It's worth noting, for anyone not realizing, the reason they're hiding their names is because it's a familial line.
Yeah. So their family members are still alive, and they don't want to be ostracized.
Exactly.
They tried using with this one, they tried using...
Like the birds?
Yes. We pluck their feathers and eat them. Yeah. That way we absorb their strength.
That's how you can pick them out. They have feathers.
Are you trying to go for a...
I found that on the floor.
Are you trying to go for a tribal joke at this point? Because you literally just talked about tracking someone down, ripping out their heart, and eating it to gain their power.
Yeah. It's mid-Africa.
So, this patient in 2001, they tried vitamin therapy, they tried meditation, they tried different stimulants, they tried hypnotics, they even tried sensory deprivation.
Yeah.
In order...
Not what that means.
In order to just try and get them...
I'm sure they did try that, though.
Just to try and get them to sleep, or try and see if there's any effectiveness in getting them to wind down.
It was a male, correct?
Yeah.
So they definitely had sex.
The guy managed to write a book.
You go to sleep right after. It's a joke.
Did you literally just miss the joke earlier about the man named? Sorry, Ben, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just got thrown off by the fact that we literally had a whole discussion about that. He just missed it. Was he male? God.
So this patient managed to write a book and drive hundreds of miles in the time that he was awake for. But he did succumb to the classic 4 stages of progression. So eventually he just lost it all and then died.
Is there it's generalized organ failure that kills, not typically like
basically,
a heart attack,
okay. Because we're not really scientists aren't even certain why we need sleep, why it's so regenerative for us.
Stunningly poorly understood.
Yeah, sleep is actually a very low science area. They don't really entirely grasp the function of it.
Well, for obvious reasons, you can't test it. It's fatal.
Yeah. In 2011, there was an Egyptian man in the Netherlands. He was 57. And he came in with symptoms of double vision and progressive memory loss. And the family had also noted that he became very disoriented, paranoid, confused. While he tended to fall asleep during random daily activities, he did experience vivid dreams and random muscular jerks during slow wave sleep.
So he went partially into sleep, but not full REM sleep.
So after
random
4 months,
muscular jerks too.
Yeah. So
it's not as targeted as what you do anymore.
He tries, but that sleep disorder really.
He's got T-Rex arms. He
doesn't help with.
He's got T-Rex arms. After 4 months of these symptoms, he began to have convulsions in his hands, and then his lower limbs.
So he basically developed Parkinson's, essentially.
Yeah. He died at the age of 58, 7 months after the onset of the symptoms. The autopsy revealed a mild atrophy of the frontal cortex, which basically means that the frontal cortex literally slowly became shut down and useless to him.
Yeah, so that's your executive thought for those.
I know how that. I know what you.
It's the defining feature of human.
I understood. No, I get it. No, this is like when you see exposition in TV shows. It's just unnecessary. But it
kind of like
the
narrators
people who don't understand. It's like not that I don't understand, but hey, you know what? Just what's the next topic?
So, part of the problem with this disease too is that even sedatives and so on, completely ineffective. It doesn't put them out. So that's where this gets very, very hard to treat. It's impossible to treat because you can't even sedate them.
Isn't there no treatment? There's nothing effective, not even remotely effective.
There's nothing really there.
Is the brain just in such a weird active state?
Yeah,
you're not
because the prions aren't shutting down properly.
And because we don't know the mechanisms behind it, we have nothing to target.
Right. Fair enough.
So, the Russian sleep experiment. Let's just get right into the story. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using experimental gas-based stimulant. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake.
Sorry.
So the gas didn't kill them.
Not sorry. Speaking of gases.
That's my gas that entered the seal.
And we're in a sealed room right now. Since we
are not.
Better than single clap, single puff.
So their oxygen intakes was monitored so the gas didn't kill them since it was toxic in high concentrations. This was before closed-circuit cameras, so they only had a microphone and 5-inch thick porthole-sized windows to in the chamber into the chamber.
As in 5-inch slots, not 5 inches of glass, presumably.
They're porthole-sized windows. They're actually there, but they're only 5-inch, they're 5-inch thick.
Oh, radius. Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry.
You enter a laboratory, and somehow you end up in a boat.
Yep.
International waters, no rules.
Yeah!
So the chamber was stocked with books, cots to sleep on, but no bedding.
So prison.
Yeah, running water and a toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 of them for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained, having been promised falsely that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days.
30 days?
So their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past. And the general tone of their conversation took on a darker aspect after the 4-day mark.
Yeah, that's how you know writing.
Yeah. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering to the microphones and one-way mirrored portholes.
Well, they were mirrored too?
Yeah.
Ah.
Oddly, they all seemed to think that they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades, the other subjects in captivity with them.
Are we still keeping up the pretense?
So, we'll talk about it.
Okay, I'll wait.
At first, the researchers suspected that this was an effect of the gas itself. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber, repeatedly yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight. He continued attempting to scream, but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords.
That can happen, for the record.
So
Under
the most
certain
surprising
conditions.
thing about this behavior is how the other captives reacted to it, or rather, didn't react
They
to
just
it.
ignored him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
that's
continued whispering to the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The two non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after page with their own feces, and pasted them calmly over the glass of the portholes. The screaming promptly stopped. So, and at the same time, so did the whispering to the microphones.
I kind of like the idea, like, they're not specifying what the whispering is, so it's just be like, hey, syphilis. You guys remember Mission Hill? Penis, 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 penis.
It has syphilis!
After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure that they were working, since they thought it was impossible for no sound to be coming from inside with 5 people inside the chamber. The oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that all 5 of them must still be alive.
Wait, so they had O2 sensors but not cameras?
Yeah, apparently.
Alright.
So, in fact...
Duh, obviously.
In fact, it was the amount of oxygen that 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strenuous exercise. On the morning of the 14th day, the researchers did something they said they would not do to get a reaction from the captives. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response to the captives they were afraid were either dead or vegetables.
Dead.
Yeah.
Vegetables.
They announced.
The Shivo.
They announced, we are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom. What I love is they're saying you will be shot if you don't, but we'll let you free if you comply. Like, come on.
A very incomplete understanding of Russian culture.
To their surprise...
Oh, they're Russians. That makes sense.
Yeah. To their surprise, they heard a single phrase in a calm voice respond, "We no longer want to be free."
I feel like I should teach you a better version of that.
So, debate broke out among the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any further response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. Why? Who knows? The chamber was flushed of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately the voices from the microphone began to object. 3 voices begging as if pleading for the lives of loved ones to turn the gas back on. The chamber was opened and soldiers sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one could rightly call the state of any of the state that any of them are in life. The food rations past 5 days had not been so much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subjects' thighs and chest stuffed into the drain at the center of the chamber, blocking the drain and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh flesh.
The destruction of flesh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
They spiced it.
Flesh.
Oh, it's nothing I like more than some flesh.
So the destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth, as the researchers initially thought. Closer examination to the position and angles of the wounds indicated that most of them, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. The abdominal organs below the rib cage of all 4 test subjects had been removed. While the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place, the skin and most of the muscles attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the rib cage.
So, no such thing as infection in this world, huh?
Yeah. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact. They had been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out along the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects.
Wait a second. You're worried about infection when they're still alive with their missing lower organs.
Yeah. Well, fun fact, urine is sterile, and if they haven't eaten solid foods in a while, they would just be urinating. But the blood and 4 inches of water would suggest otherwise. Just for fun.
Their abdomen organs were removed
but
before
they're still
living
attached.
But they're still...
They're just externalized.
They basically just ripped their own guts out.
For reasons.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm worried about infection.
Yeah. The digestive tract the digestive tracts of all 4 could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that they had ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects.
Oh, in which case, typical Russian.
Yeah. They continued to scream to be left in the chamber and alternately begged and demanded that the gas be turned back on, lest they fall asleep. To everyone's surprise, the test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out. Another was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped off and an artery from his leg severed by one of the subject's teeth.
That would be fatal.
Yep.
So typical Russia.
Another 5 of the soldiers. Another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives if you count the ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident.
Yeah, so typical Russia.
In the struggle, one of the 4 living test subjects had his spleen rupture, and he bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of morphine derivatives,
which is fatal,
and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arm of one of the doctors. The heart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after he bled out, to the point that there was no more air in his vascular system. Sorry, there was more air in his vascular system than blood.
Typical Russia.
Yeah. Normally it's vodka.
That's how they won the Olympics.
Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone in reach, and just repeating...
In Russia, we rip out spleen to get blood flow. This make Olympics easy.
Yeah, we've given up any sense of professionalism.
Yeah. So...
We're professional?
He was struggling to attack anyone in reach and just repeating the word more over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell asleep. The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility, which I thought this was a medical facility. The 2 were with intact vocal cords, continuously begged for the gas, demanding to be kept awake.
Put the gas back on! Please!
The most injured of the 3
breathing helium is fatal after
was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had, which this is a medical facility. Okay.
It's also a Russian medical facility.
Yes,
so.
this is true. Their operating room is probably a table in the mess hall.
And then they have a Demogorgon in the corner.
He's alive still.
In the process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back within his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative they had given him to prepare him for the surgery. He fought furiously against his restraints with the anesthetic gas. When the anesthetic gas was brought out to put him under, he managed to tear most of the way through a 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist, and even though the weight of a 200-pound soldier was holding that wrist back as well. That's impossible. Yeah, it took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, which the other guy took him fucking 4 more times the lethal dose. I don't understand. So you do. Yeah, he fought furiously against his restraints. When he got out, when they threw him a cane in a pork pie, and he started.
And he walked off stage.
What's that frog called?
What?
The frog that does that.
Oh, the frog from Looney Tunes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's older than that.
Yeah, I know.
Much older.
That's the one we would know, right?
So it took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, the heart stopped. So he just died the moment he fell asleep. In the autopsy, the subject that died on the operating table was found that his blood had tripled the normal amount of oxygen.
Also fatal.
Yeah. His muscles still attached.
He dies.
His muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in his struggle.
So he tore all his tendons?
Yeah, to not be subdued. Most of them were in the force of his own muscles that he exerted in the struggle.
Which is absolutely possible, for those who don't know.
The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords were destroyed, and he was unable to beg or object to surgery. He only reacted shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone suggested reluctantly that they try and give him the surgery without the anesthetic, and did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs or attempting to cover them with what remained of his skin.
Wait. Replacing his internal organs or reinserting?
Basically just putting them back inside.
Okay, so reinserting.
Yes.
Distinction, to be fair.
The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should be medically impossible for the patient to still be alive.
Because it is.
One terrified nurse assisting in the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met hers.
Aww.
He likes her.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
When the surgery...
I was going to say tasty, but all right.
When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming this must be something drastically important, the surgeon had a pen and pad fetched so the patient could write his message. It was simple. Keep cutting.
Keep cutting. Keep cutting. Keep cutting.
So...
Keep cutting.
The other 2 test subjects were given the same surgery, both without anesthetic as well. Although they had to be injected with paralytics for the duration of this operation, the surgeon had found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients were laughing continuously.
Fun fact, muscle relaxants, you can't laugh at that. Paralytics would kill you. None of that makes sense.
Once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the attending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic,
also not possible.
The paralytic cleared their system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. The researchers tried asking why they had injured themselves, why they had ripped out their own guts, and why they wanted to be given the gas again. The only response given was, "I must remain awake."
Okay. Wait? No, I'm fine. So... Interesting little thing. The maniacal laughing.
Yeah.
So, back in theater school, I went to theater school.
He says.
As if you couldn't tell.
Yeah. We did clowning and everything, and we were supposed to, and it's a really interesting, way of doing clowning. It's about regression and bring yourself back to childhood. but there was actually when we were doing the test that you're supposed to do, I actually broke down in an uncontrollable crying, and they moved me into the next room over because they wanted to let the other students do it.
Okay.
And halfway through it, I genuinely started going into a crazy maniacal laughter. And like, I was so loud that they actually sent 2 of my other classmates out to move me another room over because they thought I was disturbing them or some shit.
Please play this in the inevitable court proceeding.
But here's the funny thing. I don't remember any of it.
What's the nature of regression, right? If you regress far enough back, most of us don't remember our childhood memories.
Well, it's not even that. No, I don't even remember the laughing fit and the crying thing. Like
the pure biology of that is adrenaline inhibits memory consolidation. So if you're laughing that hard and your heart is pumping that hard, you wouldn't be able to form the memories.
Right.
Sorry to kill the biology of it.
No, like...
It's just interesting that that's how our mind works, and that's what he's trying to attribute to
Yeah,
this.
at a base level, that's what we go to.
Yeah. No, because I remember, like, my face, my muscles, feeling the muscles.
I'm sure your face hurt like hell.
No, it was weird, because my muscles were actually, like, frozen.
Oh, you got rictus!
And then and so I was slowly, bit by bit, the muscles were slowly releasing.
They didn't give you salt?
No, nobody I was alone.
Oh,
I was alone.
You were just abandoned. Jesus fucking Christ.
No, they were doing their class.
But somebody had a fit. That's really what that was.
Oh, most of my class hated me, but that's another story.
All right.
But anyway, yeah.
So, all 3 subjects' restraints were reinforced, and they were placed back into the chamber, awaiting determination as to what should be done with them. The researchers, facing the wrath of the military benefactors for having failed the stated goals of their project, considered euthanizing the surviving subjects. The commanding officer, an ex-KGB agent, instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back into the gas. The researchers strongly objected, but were overruled. In preparation for being sealed in the chamber, again, the subjects were connected to EEG monitors, had their restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all of 3 of them had stopped struggling the moment that it was let slip that they were going back into the gas. It was obvious at this state that all 3 were putting up great struggle to stay awake. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his legs against the leather bonds with all his might. First left, then right, then left again for something to focus on. The remaining subject was holding his head off his pillow and blinking rapidly.
Anyone who's raised kids recognizes all of this.
It's funny. Having been the first to be wired to the EEG, most of the researchers were monitoring his brainwaves. In surprise, they were normal most of the time, but sometimes they flatlined inexplicably.
That's impossible.
Yeah. It looked as if he was repeatedly suffering brain death before returning to normal. As they focused on the paper scrolling at the brainwave monitor, one of the nurses saw his eyes slip shut. At the same moment, his head hit the pillow. His brainwaves immediately changed to that of deep sleep, then flatlined for the last time as his heart simultaneously stopped. So basically, he fell asleep and died. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. His brainwave showed the same flat lines as the one who had just died from falling asleep.
You should try that.
The commander gave the order to seal the chamber.
Don't try that.
With both subjects inside, as well as 3 researchers. One of the 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes, turned the gun on the mute subject, and blew his brains out as well. He pointed his gun at the remaining subjects while restrained to a bed as the remaining members of the medical and research team fled from the room.
Which, to be clear, would be a kindness at this point.
Yes. The researchers screamed, "I won't be locked in here with these things. Not with you." He screamed at the man who strapped to the table. "What are you?" he demanded. "I must know." And the subject smiled. "Have you forgotten so easily?" the subject asked. "We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment of your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread." The researcher paused, then aimed the subject's heart and fired. The EEG flatlined as the subject weakly choked out, "So nearly free." So,
Are we discussing outside knowledge on this half or on the open
we are
floor?
going to go through outside knowledge after this. I'm just going to kind of clear up. So this was posted on August 10th, 2010 by a user known as Orange Soda, whose real name is currently unknown.
For the best.
Yeah.
I assume on Creepypasta.
Or no sleep.
On Creepypasta's wiki.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, because there is actually a follow-up to this that was written by somebody else, which is called I Conducted My Own Russian Sleep Experiment or something, and it's a really good tale. Much better written than this.
Yeah. Like,
Take that, Orange Man.
they wanted all the orange soda.
Yeah, Orange Soda.
Give this random person on the internet the respect they deserve. Anyway.
Immediately defeating your own point.
The moral of the story is that our madness is actually a demon within our own minds that wants to come out always.
Horseshit.
And
That's not the outcome.
But that's the moral of the story. Like,
Yeah, did you not get when he said, "I was almost free"? That was the demon. That was literally the demon that is our madness trying to escape.
Well,
So-
when we get to the real shit.
the Russian sleep experiment's popularity actually led to a lot of adaptations over the years. So, like I said, it was posted in 2010, so it has been over 10 years since we've had this out here.
Yay,
There was a novel inspired by the original short story that was published in 2015, but is now out of print. In 2019, there was a play made called Subject UH1317 when science traces a deadly turn, and it's based on this short story. In the early 2018,
2018?
a psychological thriller based on the short story began production. It was directed by John Farrelly, and it is set to be released in 2020. I highly doubt that's being released.
The guy who made Dumb and Dumber?
Is it really? I don't know the director. Because that would be amazing.
Wow.
I would love to see a Dumb and Dumber no sleep.
No, Dumb and Dumber was made by the Farrelly brothers. That's why.
Okay.
That's where the joke was coming from.
You know far more names than I do.
So with it being set to be released in 2020, I highly doubt because COVID has like basically killed everything.
Can I make a request? Can the directors of Dumb and Dumber make a no sleep? Because that would be fucking amazing.
We should talk about more no sleep stories at some other point. But
Fine.
several other adaptations have been created. There's actually another film based on this short story entitled The Soviet Sleep Experiment. I wonder why. With Chris Kattan starring and Barry Anderson directly.
Chris Kattan?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is
It was filmed in Lakeville, Minnesota.
Is it a comedy?
I can't imagine it being a comedy.
Well, that's who Chris Kattan is. He's.
Well, I'm unfamiliar with the man.
You're seeing the
it was
Night at the
released-
Roxbury thing?
It was
Yeah?
released in 2009.
Yeah, he's the short one with Will Ferrell. Did you not know who Chris Kattan is?
Like, in my head, no, not really. I never put a name to the face.
So it was released in 2019. Chris Kattan is actually subject number 3. So
Well, you know what? I guess
this
that
confirmed.
that kind of makes sense.
yeah,
Actually,
this is made. It's been released.
Oh, okay.
he's a scrawny, gangly little dude. Like maybe that's kind of how it works.
Presumably the man has range, so yeah, it fits.
They all have fake Russian accents.
Oh, we lost it again.
The thing about Chris Kattan, like he was famous for being a comedian and everything, and then his career kind of just fell, and he became a really bad alcoholic.
That's the part I remember. So I didn't imagine him coming back.
He's done minor stuff here and there. He had a small cameo in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, but so did everybody.
No, like, it's just weird to see him in things. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm just taking a look at the director. He's directed not a lot of really well-known movies.
I like the recoil on that.
I Am a Gun.
Yeah, he's...
Penis.
Nothing major on here. Wow. Anyways,
this silence was brought to you by Chris Kattan.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking crazy. So, it's fucking creepypasta.
Clearly.
Not well written.
Or researched.
Honestly, yeah, that's because the things I've seen were like YouTube clips with with little explanation bubbles, and clearly someone did a bit of editing, because I remember it being a hell of a lot.
Yeah, Mr. Creepypasta has done it like twice or something like that, like when he started doing his reboots, and the first one he reads it originally as it is written, and in the second one he kind of makes alterations to make it much like flow better.
Yeah, just better writing.
Yeah.
It's worth noting.
So,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Every intelligence agency across the board, research and otherwise related to the military, has investigated this sort of thing. And there are stories about it, but they don't play out like this.
So, even with it just being a creepypasta, the Soviet Union has also conducted a number of secret scientific experiments.
Spoilers!
Beginning
it's
in
like
the
4 seconds. Get over yourself.
Beginning in the early 1900s and continuing until the Soviet Union broke apart in the late 1980s. Most of the experiments conducted by Soviet Secret Service, they were all basically conducted like that. So with it being an ex-KGB, I highly doubt an ex-KGB would be the commander of one of these.
Better things to do unless he was disgraced. Yeah. Also, the soldiers staffing it would be nobodies, not trained.
Yeah.
KGB. King Gay Boy.
But the Soviet Secret Services...
I would mention that the next time you meet one.
So the Soviet Secret Services were really brutal, and they never hesitated to conduct human experimentation. That wasn't a thing that was like...
That's theoretically true.
Some of the most disturbing and unethical human experimentations, way beyond what the U.S. and North Korea could ever imagine, were conducted by the Soviet Secret Services.
Worse than the Nazis.
Yeah, one of the most infamous is the Poison Laboratory, which was a secret service facility that was developed by a professor in medicine called Ignaty Kazakov.
It's not the name.
And headed by Lieutenant General Pavel Sudoplatov.
Also, obviously, not the name.
Yeah, because it says pseudo in it.
Were they the ones that tested the LD50s of various substances?
Yes. Basically, it was just a facility that took a lot of different kinds of poisons.
That one was real, to my knowledge.
And they tested it on how it affects humans. So, it's believed that this laboratory was activated again in 1991.
It was destroyed.
And is still used to create deadly poisonous biological weapons.
Biological?
Yeah.
It's his accent. Don't make fun.
Yeah, his accent of biological.
Anyways, so human experimentation was rampant in all laboratories, and the subjects were mostly political prisoners. So,
you know what you get from biological? A buttload of flesh.
One of these days.
That's his sex toy.
In 2018. 2022.
Yep. It's a coming. I hit you with 1,000. All right. So, a lot of these experiments were to find a colorless, odorless poison that could not be detected even after the person dies. So basically find anything that can just basically be silent assassination tools.
I don't know if anyone remembers, but the Russian hostage crisis, I think it was like 2009, where special forces came in after administering an anesthetic in gaseous form to everybody in the form, and about 30% of people died. That's roughly the outcome of that project.
Well, eventually we will talk about MK Ultra, which is what the United States did to their own people.
That was in the 60s, though. This is way more sophisticated than that.
Sounds like an evolution. You get the AK-47 and then the MK Ultra.
The AN-94.
So, let's talk about actual sleep deprivation. Let's talk about the sleep deprivation world record.
Anyone nut it?
So,
You?
Clearly not.
I've done.
I can
8 days is mine.
I used to actually stay up for about 5 days at a time.
Just on your own?
Yeah, for the fun of it, and because I just didn't want to.
Are you a masochist? What the fuck? Who does that on
The
purpose?
worst thing is I would be driving around doing this. And whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, go.
I just just for fun.
Holy fuck.
It wasn't
Mine was a genuine scheduled experiment.
It wasn't even for really, fun. It was just that I was too busy to fucking sleep.
I got shit to do.
Well,
fuck it.
yeah.
I can barely stay awake.
Props.
Yeah, now I can't do it. It's
No,
funny.
obviously we're old.
I'm as I get older, I realized how weak I've become because I remember
I'm so weak.
Well, the
it's funny
shit
'cause,
we did.
I'll sleep for 8 hours and I'll wake up and still feel tired and I'll be like,
That's not
I
right.
don't even really want to go to work right now.
Man, I'm just trying to fix my sleep schedule now, which is somehow my brain got programmed to be like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm going to go to sleep. 4 hours later. And then you wait, and it's like, wake up! Ah! Why? It's only 4 in the morning!
So, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, a high school student from California called Randy Gardner stayed awake for
11 days? Presumably with the assistance of stimulants.
He stayed awake for 11 continuous days.
Just jerking it, that Randy Gardner.
Nah, you dehydrate. You can't do it.
So, this was a 264-day experiment. The young man suffered from foggy memory, poor concentration, dizziness, slurred speech, and even hallucinations and paranoia. He, however, did not exhibit any horrifying behaviors like the Russian experiment subjects.
No shit.
After the project was over, he slept for 14 hours in a stretch, woke up, felt normal again.
That sounds about accurate.
Yeah.
Without any long-lasting consequences of sleep deprivation. So, this was back in 1964.
Really?
Yes.
No one's beat it since then?
No.
With the invention of Red Bull and all that shit?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have a heart attack, but...
Guinness removed this category because they did not want to encourage the risky behavior of actual sleep deprivation.
As they should.
The record holder for the longest continuous period of wakefulness is Maureen Weston of England, who went without sleep for 18 days in 1977.
Is she the sneezing woman?
As part of a rocking chair marathon. She did not become cannibalistic.
The most English thing I've ever heard.
A rocking chair? What? I gotta make sure that I go back and forth on this rocking chair.
She has to be knitting.
So she still holds
that's it.
She still holds this record to this day.
Well, they don't...
It's because she's still
you
rocking.
can't modify the record.
Yeah, she's still rocking back and forth.
It's just a skeleton on a porch. Rocking back and forth.
It's always Halloween at that house.
So whenever we hear about a sleep experiment, we find it believable because sleep is always an interesting subject. Like I said, we don't know a lot about it. However, no one's ever heard of any stimulant gas that can keep people awake for a month.
No, it's impossible.
The Soviet military was known to have various kinds of gas, like gas chambers for torturing prisoners. Keeping them awake for days at a stretch was not a method they ever used. So let's talk about the effects of sleep deprivation. Going without sleep for a stretch can lead to various health problems, but it can't turn you cannibalistic.
Also, it's better to stretch like yoga or something.
Okay. So after a long day at work, we want nothing more to go home and go to bed. I don't
Western
know.
world.
Yeah. For the most part, I can't do that. I can't just get home and be like, oh, I'm going to sleep now. I never have been able to. I don't know why.
Yeah, me neither. I leave the house all the time.
So if we do not
Virtually count.
get enough sleep at night, we feel groggy, grumpy, and tired, and excessively sleepy all day. So these are just obvious effects. But there are actually way more serious consequences. Our bodies are like machines. It only takes a few hours of rest a night to keep them maintained. Otherwise, they start to break down. So if we go without sleep for a long time, our bodily functions begin to suffer, and like it shows in the fatal insomnia, we start to become more risky. Our behaviors get more risky. If you're driving, you can get into car accidents. You can not check your way as you're walking down the street, things like that. And then you start to become paranoid, and you start to have micro sleeps. You start to have hallucinations.
You know, it's funny. I may have never gotten to that point, but I've been awake for a certain amount of time, and it's the closest to a drunk Wes you will ever meet, and it is fucking hilarious. I was coming back from my roommate's parents' place, way out there in part of Middle Dakota, and
Upper Middle Dakota.
Dude, it's just North Dakota. Don't be stupid.
They're not real people.
Can't argue with that. Anyway, but yeah, like, we took a train and everything to get back because there were so many problems with the flights, and he's just sitting next to me, and I'm like, hey, I am so thirsty. You think I might be tired? No, I'm not tired. And it was just
chaos.
I never act like this. Really, it's even kind of a struggle to fake it. But when it happens, man, I let everything sort of relax and I just move with it.
I like how every teetotal I know sounds like the most stoned stereotype.
What?
When they're describing drugs and drug effects. Because you don't take anything, correct?
No.
Yes, so you are what's considered a teetotal.
Oh, you mean straight edge?
Yeah, I believe that's the modern term.
No, teetotaler is somebody who doesn't drink and
or the recreational drugs.
Yeah, but straight edge is like no smoking, no any.
Oh, there's a further distinction.
Yeah, it's actually like a punk rock movement, and then it became its own subculture. So,
invariably.
And it's based off of I forget the name of the band now. Minor Threat. The lead singer, Minor Threat.
That seems somehow
used to preach a song. He used to preach a song called Straight Edge, and it was about not messing up your mind and so on. And then he released another one called Out of Step, and in it he listed out basically what he calls the guidelines, and people made it into the straight edge rules, which was like, you don't smoke, you don't fuck, you don't drink. So
well, it's
no sexual activity as well.
No,
not promiscuous sex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Outside of a committed relationship is where it goes wrong.
Yeah. So I know all about that because I was part of that movement for a very, very long time.
Oh.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was part of the movement, but long and short, that's kind of what I am.
Yeah, I legitimately used to call it because a lot of people one of the terms they use is X it up because they use 3 X's to represent straight edge. And
is that with any irony at all, or
it's just what he used it as a basis. Like, he used to have X's written on his arms, and then he would cross his arms with 2 X's, and that was 3 X's.
Oh, okay. So circumstantial.
Yeah.
He used to have 2 X's on his arm, and then he'd cross his arms, and then it'd be 3 X's.
Yeah, essentially that's what
it's hard not to come across.
And even how people would write it as when they were Xing it up was little X, large capital X, little X. So
kind of like the Triple X movie logo.
Yeah.
Was that done on purpose?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's because he also is like Xander Cage in it. He makes a lot of mentions to punk rock and very heavy metal bands and anarchists and stuff. And straight edge was considered an anarchy movement. And then there was another movement that came off of that called Hardline. It's a whole thing. Like,
well, that is neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Let's
Anyways,
go back to our...
One of the biggest disasters that is believed to have been caused by sleep deprivation is the Chernobyl disaster. So...
Well, in terms of scope and scale, but yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, basically you just shut down.
Do you want me to go through it? Because I've actually done this as an experiment. I'm just trying to figure out where.
A big thing is like appetite loss and weight gain. So you can lose your appetite, or you can lose weight, or you can gain an appetite and gain weight from it because your body is looking for something to keep it going.
It depends on your metabolism, which way it'll swing to compensate.
Let me just pull back here. You said, and I quote, you either lose your appetite or gain weight.
Yeah, both can happen as you swell.
But you didn't state.
Yeah.
You went in a diagonal there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're known for our medical advice.
Yeah, I'm a doctor.
Yes, that was what I was talking about. His medical degree,
Dr. Bad Ben MD. So,
professional sexologist,
Dr. J Wes Secord, DM.
And then Dr. Token, DM.
BLM, but close enough.
All right.
Dr. Token, Black Lives Matter?
I'll take it.
All right. So, you get poor cognitive functioning, mishaps, all
impaired
that
cognitive
bullshit.
function.
Yeah. And then risk of serious health conditions like diabetes, heart attacks, and heart failure, stroke, kidney disorders, hypertension, and depression.
Pretty much anything connected to your cardiovascular system.
Yeah, it also kills your sex drives, make it hard to conceive a baby.
I mean, points for trying?
Yeah.
Maybe?
I think the main problem is that it just doesn't make it hard.
Yeah.
Time and time again has proven that's not necessarily necessary.
Let's talk about Andre Chikatilo for a second. I will do that episode another time.
All right. I can't wait to hear about Andre Chikachita.
I was expecting Chikorita, but okay.
All I can think about is if this was Time Suck, all we'd hear is, "What is McNeil?"
Shout out to Time Suck.
Yeah. What I love about it is that when we talk about that episode, I will have to talk about his soft shame cock. So,
got it.
Yeah. Soft. So, the cheetah is a soft shame cock.
Chikachita. Don't forget the Chikachita. It's like a chicken cheetah.
It's like a Chick-fil-A, but with a cheetah.
Oh, no.
And that's the BM.
BLM.
Oh, so is that it?
That's it.
All right. Well, that was an interesting episode. I don't think any of us were in the right mind today. But you know what? I give us credit for trying.
Were we ever?
I give us credit for trying. And, yeah. So, as usual, you guys can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at BA Chaos Jar. You can ask me a bunch of random questions at I'm Glad You Asked _. You can follow us on Facebook at Pandora's Jar
It's all about the dip.
Podcast. Pandora's Jar Podcast. You can patron us. Shut up. You can patronize us on patrons at patreon.com/chaosjar. It's just Chaos Jar, right? It's not Chaos Jar Podcast.
Yeah, it's just
the YouTube is Chaos Star.
Yeah. All right. And lastly, go check out our YouTube channel. I'm sure some funny little things have shown up there. We're Chaos Jar Podcast on YouTube, not Chaos Jar. That's a guy and his cat. Anyway, this is all in the show notes. Take a look down there and everything. All right, you folks have a good night.
Special thank you to Segriff for doing our YouTube channel.
That's me, and it's my pleasure, guys.